Hi guys, welcome. In this video, we are going to talk about how to knit brioche, specifically how to knit two-color brioche in the round. Now, last year I started this little hat pattern. It's a brioche hat. It actually has all sorts of patterns and it's twisting and meandering vines and all sorts of things like that. But I was just trying to get started with the actual brioche technique. And it took me 3 tries to maybe figure out how this all worked, because my issue was that I tried to read the instructions, read the stitch instructions word for word as they were coming without consulting the stitch guide, without consulting what it actually meant for these acronyms. When they say yarn over slip, I just knit what I thought was a yarn over and slip, and it didn't work at all. So I want to show you guys how to actually knit two-color brioche. It's super easy. It's a fantastic technique that produces a really, really cool color effect. You can see in this hat, there's 2 colors, and one of the colors will pop out into the front, and then the other color will kind of hide away in the back. And then also, if you turn it inside out, that back color sort of pops out. So it just produces a really, really cool, beautiful color effect. And this can be used in a hat, could be used in shawls, scarves, whatever. It's a fantastic little color effect to use 2 different colors. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So before we begin, I just want to let you know that in all of the brioche projects that I've encountered, I've looked at brioche projects from different designers, and different designers will sort of write their instructions in different ways. So it might be a little bit confusing and non-standard, but what I want you to do is to look at the technique, understand how it works, so that way you can apply your understanding, your visual understanding of how brioche works to whatever instructions are being provided. In my case, I have a pattern that I'm using, and what I have is 3 abbreviations, 3 knitting abbreviations that you guys will need to know. So the first one is yarn over slip. It's YOS is how it's abbreviated, yarn over slip. And in order to work this, what you need to do is you need to bring your yarn to the front of your work and then slip 1 stitch as if to purl, and then take that yarn and put it to the back of your work. And so this produces a slipped purl stitch and a yarn over at the same time. And so the yarns will look doubled up. The next abbreviation that you need to know is BK2 tog. It's basically a knit 2 together, but it's a brioche knit 2 together. And so that idea is that you knit the stitch together with the yarn over that is paired with it. You knit those 2 together. It's not a decrease. It's basically just taking that extra yarn over and knitting it together with that stitch. Likewise, the other acronym that you need to know is BP2 together. So BP2 tog, brioche, purl 2 together. So that idea is very simple as well. It's to purl the stitch, but at the same time as you're purling the stitch, you purl it together with the yarn over that is paired with that stitch. So I'm going to show you all of these things in detail as we do the demo. Okay, so in order to knit this brioche in the round, 2-color brioche in the round, I'm going to start off with this. This is my starting point. Basically, I've just cast on 48 stitches. I'm knitting magic loop. These needles happen to be 3.75 millimeter, so I think they're US 5. And I have just knit sort of a stockinette tube in the round just to get started. For knitting 2-color brioche in the round, I have 4 rounds of pattern. The first 2 rounds are just to set up the pattern, and then after that, the third and fourth round are basically rounds that you just repeat over and over and over again to produce the effect. So here I'm going to show you the setup round, round number 1, with your main color, which is going to be this purple color. I'm going to knit the yarn over slip, or YOS, and then I'm going to purl 1, and I'm just going to repeat those 2 stitches. When I add the second color, my second color is going to be this. This is going to be my contrast color. This is going to be my main color. In order to knit my yarn over slip, I'm going to bring the yarn to the front of my work. So yarn in front, and then I'm going to slip 1 stitch as if to purl. And then I'm going to bring the yarn back to the front of my work in order to purl the next stitch. And so you can see what I've done already. I've created a yarn over, I've slipped that stitch, and then the next stitch is a purl, kind of to lock it all down. So now I have my yarn at the front of my work already, so I don't need to bring it to my front of my work. It's already there. So I'm going to slip the next stitch as if to purl, and then purl the next stitch. So in doing so, in order to purl that next stitch, I have to bring my yarn around to the front of my work again. So in doing that, I've created another yarn over. So I'm going to do a few more of those. Slip one, purl one, slip one with a yarn over, purl one, slip one with a yarn over, purl, slip one with a yarn over, and purl. So just looking at what we've done now, you can see there's yarn overs, there's slip stitches, and there's purl stitches. Yarn over, slip, purl, yarn over, slip, purl, yarn over, slipped, purl. So we just keep on going. Okay, so now we've finished that round. We're going to leave this main color hanging at the front of our work as we go on. And the next setup round is round number 2, and we're going to add the contrast color. So now with the contrast color, we are going to brioche knit 2 together and then yarn over slip. So as you're looking at your stitches here on the left-hand needle, you can see that there's a knit stitch here that we slipped last time, and that is being paired with this yarn over. So these are the 2 that we're going to knit together. Then this next stitch here is one that we purled last time around. That stitch we're going to do with the yarn over. So you can see I'm going to go into both of these stitches. So the knit stitch and the yarn over, put those together, and I'm going to knit those 2 together. And then with this next stitch, which is a purl, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that yarn over slip. So in order to do that, I need to bring my yarn to the front again so that I can slip this one as if to purl. And then I need to make that yarn over by putting my yarn to the back. And as I do that, I'm going to go into these next 2 stitches, the knit stitch paired with the yarn over. And I'm going to purl and knit those 2 together. So you can see kind of what's happening here. I'm going to knit a few more and you can see. So we've come up to the purl stitch, which means that we have to work the yarn over slip. So I bring my yarn to the front, slip as if to purl, and then I bring the yarn to the back, making that yarn over. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to brioche knit these 2 together. And then I'm going to make this yarn over slip, brioche knit 2 together, yarn over slip, brioche knit 2 together, yarn over slip, brioche knit 2 together, and then yarn over slip, brioche knit 2 together, slip. So as you keep going, it's going to feel like you're knitting ribbing, 1 by 1 ribbing, but when you're doing those knit stitches, you're going to knit 2 together with that yarn over, and in between, you're going to make a little yarn over. So that's kind of like, just like ribbing, and you can kind of see what we're producing here. It looks a little bit messy and it looks a little bit clumsy because you have all of these sort of diagonal yarn overs messing things up. But as you go to knit them in the next round, they do start to look more clear and obvious what each one is. Great. So then the last stitch here, we are just going to leave our contrast color hanging at the back of our work to make sure that we're finishing off that yarn over. Okay, great. So now starting round 3 with our main color again, which we were leaving in the front, we are going to do our yarn over slip and then brioche purl 2 together. So leaving the yarn in the front, I'm going to slip as if to purl, and then I'm going to take my yarn to the back and around so that I can purl the next 2 stitches together. So I'm purling this yarn over and the purl stitch together. So into the stitches as if to purl, I'm going to purl them together. And so I have created a yarn over, slipped, and brioche purl 2 together. I'm going to do that again. So yarn over and slip, brioche purl 2 together, yarn over and slip, and then brioche purl 2 together. So let's do that again. I'm going to yarn over, slip. So I'm creating this yarn over by slipping, and I have my yarn in the front, and as it's moving to the back, that's what's producing the yarn over. Coming back to the front, and then I'm going to purl those 2 together, purling the yarn over and the purl stitch together. So this next stitch is going to be yarn over, slip, purl 2 together, yarn over, slip, purl 2 together, yarn over, slip, purl 2 together. So it seems like you're naming them out of order. So it seems like it's going out of order because you're doing really slip, yarn over, brioche purl 2 together. And I think that that's where I was getting mixed up in the instructions. When I was reading it as a yarn over slip, then I was trying to do a yarn over and then slipping and then trying to knit, and it was causing all sorts of messed up problems. So you really have to do this as holding the yarn in the front, and as you are slipping, you are creating that yarn over at the same time. So slipping and creating the yarn over at the same time, and then brioche purl 2 together. And coming to the end of the stitch, you can see that what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to purl these 2 together. This is sort of, it seems like it's hanging out, but really it should be hanging at the back. And so this next stitch is to brioche purl these 2 together. Like so. Okay, so starting round 4, this is the same as round 2. Actually, what we're going to do is we're going to brioche knit these 2 together and then yarn over slip those purl stitches. Okay, so this is our yarn over, this is our knit stitch. We are going to go in and brioche knit 2 together. This one's a little bit sloppy and loose because this is the beginning of the round. The next one, yarn over slip, and then brioche knit 2 together. Okay, yarn over slip, brioche knit 2 together. So again, to do this yarn over slip, I'm basically moving my yarn to the front of my work, slipping the stitch as if to purl, and then letting that yarn go to the back in order so that I can be ready to knit those 2 stitches together. So you can see sort of as I'm working with this contrasting color, you can see that on my right hand needle, I'm getting sort of 2 of these white stitches, 1 of the main color stitch, 2 of this contrasting color, 1 of the main color, 2 contrasting color, and so on. And so this is the way that I can see which color I have just worked. You can already start to see that brioche texture happening where these contrasting stitches are being sort of elongated and they're popping out in front, and the darker color, the purple color, is sort of fading into the background. They're stretching out and then popping into the background, and it's going to become like a 1-by-1 ribbing where the top stitches or the stitches that are coming forward are the contrasting color, and the stitches that are moving backwards into sort of the valley of that ribbing, that those are going to be the main color or the dark purple color. So as you're looking at your stitches on the left-hand side of your needle, hopefully it can become a little bit more obvious what you need to do each time. You see these paired stitches with the yarn overs, you know that those ones you're going to have to knit. And then these other ones you're going to have to make into a yarn over slip for the next round. So now looking at my work, I know exactly that this stitch needs to have a yarn over paired together with that. And then I'm going to take care of this paired yarn over from the previous round. And that's just how I'm going about and thinking about my brioche as I'm knitting it. So that means that when I pick up this project from a year ago, I can actually look at it and say, oh, I know exactly where I'm supposed to start. I know that since there are 2 of these dark colors and 1 of the light color, that means that the next round needs to be done with the lighter strawberry tea color. And then I can see that there's this paired yarn over with this knit stitch, so I know that I need to knit those 2 together. And then there's this purl stitch here hanging out, so I'm going to do my yarn over slip here. And then these 2 stitches need to be knit together. And so very easily I can pick up a project that I started last year and forgot sort of what was going on. I know exactly where to pick up and how to continue. And so brioche produces this beautiful effect. It looks like 1x1 ribbing, but it's just got depth and richness to it. And it's just another way of using 2 colors in yarns, using multiple colors, using hand-dyed colors to really pull out some of the interest and highlight and feature some of that yarn. So I hope this little brioche tutorial was helpful to you. I hope that if you've never tried this technique before and you've been curious and wanting to try, I hope that this gives you a little bit of guidance moving forward. My goal here is really for you to be able to read your knitting and to see what needs to be done next, rather than always being focused on the actual stitches that are being described in a written pattern. Because people go about describing brioche in so many different ways, I wanted you guys to understand how it fundamentally works. So I hope that this tutorial was helpful to you guys. If you guys like this, please do hit the like button. And if you'd like to see more things like this, please do hit subscribe so you can be subscribed to all our videos on the Sweet Georgia channel here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. All right, bye for now.